All right, here we go for week one, lesson three. So this will be the last of the pre-recorded for this week that you have to go through or that you are going through. Welcome again to another lesson. We're going to continue with researching the audience, and we're going to look at the digital aspects of how certain, obviously stats are recorded using certain, I'd say, quote unquote, devices and means and ends, right? So, hi, by the way, my name is Chris. I'm your lecturer, and I'll be taking you through 223, age-rated 223 part-timers. Please, at any one point, if you haven't already, there is on Col Campus, there's an invite to the link uh, to the WhatsApp uh, H Radio 223 part-timers group. Please go and at your soonest go and join. And it's going to obviously be a place as WhatsApp groups are for us to have a direct connection, but also where I'll upload directly like the formatives and extra additional material or related job opportunities, whatever it may be, internships that do pop up. I'd like to obviously share that and have you connected. All right, don't have to validate that anymore, justify that anymore. You know why it's cool and it's important. Please go and do it. So quite a short lesson right now, and then what I want to do, just in terms of researching the audience, continuing our conversation there, and what I would like to do as part of the lesson is have a look at an example. It's an old example, so about 2 years old, I think. But it's of a more so what you've got so far and what has been um to try finish my train of thought, what has been obviously shared with you are the basic figures, the report figures, right, of where each radio station sits currently on the latest quarterly, right? I think it was June, July of 2023 is something that was the one we could access lately. For anything more, just go to the BRC site and I think it's called brcsa.org, right? Okay, I know I said that in the previous one. I would actually go and find it. Now, let me just quickly hold on a second. Just give me 2 seconds, and I should do this quote unquote beforehand. BRC site, South Africa. There we go. Yeah. Give me a second, yeah. And that is, yes, brcsa.org.za. There we go. All right. Okay. brcsa.org.za, where you can go find all the details, all the information, the frequently asked questions, a bit of a step-by-step technical guide as well. Very cool stuff just to get yourself a little bit more, in touch with what is happening. Yeah. Um, all right. Okay. So let's quickly have a look at the references in your textbook. Valerie Geller's Beyond Powerful Radio, the chapter 34, the portable people meter. So page 472. And still in Next Level Radio in chapter 11, where we'll look at PPMs, right? The portable people meter, right? As well as digital measurements to kind of round this digital aspect of how we can and how we accumulate our stats and our reports, or the part that it does actually play within there. Okay, so what is a portable people meter, PPM? It's in a nutshell, it's a little device, kind of like a pager. I don't know if any of you remember what a pager was, or even if you were born. I don't think you were born. Pager is a small little handheld device with some very, very basic, I say, input and output. So the screen is not complicated at all. And again, like I say, maybe 3 or 4 buttons, you understand, on the actual device itself. Why is it a pager-like device that is being used in this portable people meter process? Because all we from people that are in real time, so up to the minute results, is how we can get better understanding of a certain, I say, a certain sample group, right? Focus group, that we can go out and say, okay, look, tell us when you do like something, when you don't like something, as easy as that, for example, right? Um, and we can get a very good gauge as to when it's good radio, when it's bad radio, good music, bad music, irritating adverts, not irritating adverts, whatever it may be, good features, good content, doesn't matter. Anyway, you can record what stations the respondent is being exposed to. Radio frequencies sent by radio stations that can be encoded with data that can be decoded by the PPM. So it is a movement sensor to ensure it's always on a respondent and can pick up the date and time as well as how long you listen. So here is more data that is picked up. So data picked up is then collected and weighed up and down to represent a group of people, so similar to paper diaries. The advantages of this is that you don't have to actually remember what you listen to, as everything is recorded automatically. Data is more precise as it collects up to minute data. RAMs can only provide an approximation for the quarterlies that we do look at and the quarter hours that we do look at. What is a disadvantage? Well, the measures it measures the most prominent tagged media in the room. So if you're listening to the radio or the TV, it'll pick up the TV. If you've fallen asleep with the PPM on, it'll measure you as a listener. As long as you move every few minutes, it's expensive and it has to be kept charged. You have to commit to wearing it for a full year. That's crazy. They're probably wondering what I'm going on about, these like digital measurements and stuff. You're going to see in just a moment. Okay. Might not particularly be in the scope of the PPM, although I have seen similar, like I said, devices used, particularly in Britain, actually, where they do, like I say, rate particular moments of a show, of a station. Um, but here, just to close this up here, most media businesses are trying to find ways to convert their listeners into users of their digital content streams. And if a radio station can get listeners to engage with their content online, they can learn more about how listeners consume and respond to content. Okay. It's a little bit left of center, these statements, just for you to, don't, not in conjunction with the PVM, but moving to digital measurements as well. Just a bit of a segue in between there. Again, we're utilizing new technologies in many different ways. You can see often when you go online, right, and you're on a social medium, particularly Facebook, I see it a lot. You're going to see that certain stations will say, we need you to fill out our surveys, or we need you to fill out a report, and you could possibly win this or that, whatever it may be. Ways to first entice, someone to be part of like as many as possible surveys to be filled out. Okay. And then two, obviously, being able to maybe transfer that into understandable and usable and valuable means of communication that we can, obviously engage our listeners with in the online or digital platforms as well. Okay, so again, PPM to digital measurements, all right, uh, extremely versatile. So can range from geolocated dates where a person is listening from to rich data that contains the media owner's personal info. Let's have a look further. The value of collecting such rich data and cross-referencing with other sets of information is that we can start to see, where they travel, what they buy, what ads work for them. This means advertisers can begin to understand how to target their audience better so they can reach their potential customers. So now you're seeing more of the device that I've explained in the beginning. Again, um, predominantly used overseas because they can afford it, and a large amount of these devices are used as well. The benefit of any content media platform includes a large and varied audience reach, along with being able to tell every detailed story about their users. This is why we're saying Facebook is dominated in the social media advertising space, even though you're rolling your eyes, perhaps maybe because it is for an older audience, not an old audience, older. So we're talking maybe 28 plus predominantly use Facebook, but it is by far, as it's linked to Instagram as well, very effective in being able to then obviously advertise, do digital marketing there. Again, digital requests and again, procurement, very effective on Facebook as well. Um, and it's more trusted, so if you go and see, let's say, for example, any kind of the same type of measurements, so for example, we're seeing like an advert on TikTok, or some kind of procurement strategy there. We're not going to click on it. It's just not the behavior that people are used to on there, and that's why it's not as effective as a very kind of legacy. This is the legacy platform, where Facebook has had many, many, many years to kind of morph and evolve. And it's always been there, quote unquote. So, like I say, people trust it a little bit more, right? So the data that we have is used to target particular advertising messages to those users, and this prevents wastage. So when you do digital, right? Okay, just so we're going a little bit off center here, but just to note that we're looking at also being able to accumulate stats by asking, like being able to add forms to our advertising. We do also, like when we are creating advertising for any digital platform, like a very, very, we say, customize, yeah, customize, that's a word. Customize the audience in a very particular manner, saying they are aged between this and this. This is what their interests are: radio, this station, that station, whatever it may be, content creation, doesn't matter. So we really customize and create a very particular type of audience that we are going to reach. Obviously, I mean, if our station, it's going to definitely reach our followers that we do have on this social medium. And it is very effective. Like I say, we do ask for people's details that we can share, because obviously data collection is it's a good commodity, right? So being able to have someone's name, surname, phone number, and email address, right, is something that obviously a lot of advertisers, a lot of clients, should I say, can use as part of their own spam efforts, right, to be able to reach people that do and most probably will buy their products or their services, right? Anyway, okay, so terrestrial radio stations have limited data, as RAM diaries give basic information but can't give them the granular data that, for example, Facebook can. When we look at the analytics, right? So if you can only do this if you have a Facebook business account, which you must have actually as a professional. You must create a Facebook business account. You will be able to track the analytics, and you can just kind of like tweak any changes to that advert, obviously publish it, get more effective results, see obviously the database that you have collected. I'm saying that data and that information from people that have interacted with your particular advert that you've sent out there as well. And again, it could be, like I say, an easy form, a quick, easy survey. Send this out. It's always, again, we always link it to possibly winning something if we are a radio station, just for a bit of an incentive, and so on and so forth. Okay, in order for terrestrial stations to keep making money off advertising, they will need to move many of their users over to digital platforms. Right. Okay. Um, so yes, I have mentioned this, very, very particular users and platforms, so that I don't skip anything out. Digital migration and registered users offer media companies data that previously they didn't have access to. They'd have to go out, find it, knock on doors, quote unquote, make calls, send emails, whatever. But now we can get it quite easily on social media. From experience, I'm going to tell you that you will get a lot of garbage if you are procuring for data. A lot of people that are like misunderstanding the advert, misunderstanding the survey, the questionnaire, whatever it may be. A lot of people that are seeing one word, for example, in your advert and completely misinterpreting it for something else or something that they want it to be to gain a connection to someone on the other side. So you really need to know that once you do have that database that you have collected, or that data that you have collected to add to your database, whatever it may be, but you're going to have to sift through that and cleanse that data, and then have to obviously go and see what's valid, what's not, and what we can actually keep and what we can't actually keep. The whole process of signing up and logging in is something we don't necessarily like anymore just because we know automatically. One, also, we have a million accounts with a million passwords that we don't want to create a new account, even though this does assure, like I say, a little bit of loyalty. We're assure that we can actually track some kind of activity. Logging in shows a little bit of commitment and loyalty to a large extent, but it is extremely annoying. So we want to access a certain product, want to access certain information, but we have to now sign up for something, which normally puts off a lot of people. Try and stay away from it if you can. But if you can't, and you can see that what you're offering is something that people actually don't mind just signing up, creating an account, and moving on. Using their Facebook, using their Google, or using, I think those are the two massive variants that you can actually use without having to create a new account with a new um, password. Right. That's okay. That's easy. If you can link it in and you can synchronize it with an existing account, that obviously makes things a lot easier. Anyway, right. Okay. So again, when we understand, we can again analyze analytics properly, right? And you do take a class on it. Go watch a YouTube video, a couple of them as well. Go see some tutorials and go before you even go and try to understand how digital marketing, for example, and digital measurements can actually matter or work for you. Like, please go and then kind of upskill yourself in knowing how these things actually work. So you can go and have a look at page 429 to 430 for some references over there. And the future of digital radio is to use digital measurement data to enable radio programmers to understand each listener. So yes, sure, we want to obviously move to that kind of device, the DAB device, where we can get digital radio accessible to our everyone in this country. That would be ideal. We don't have the infrastructure for it just yet, but there are many different ways that we can, in them for the moment, allow for streaming services that cost very little to stream a radio station for many, many hours and have you being able to access stations across the country as well, or just outside your community or your feeder area. It is enticing. We do like that. We don't hear the white noise, which is great, which is very annoying, as you know, when you're gravitating from one particular area to another. You might lose signal, that type of stuff, right? So there's a lot of pluses to going the digital route, right? And knowing that, we want to, as from the other side, we can easily quantify some good statistics and some dependable data that we can turn into knowledge at some point, right? So through this digital data mining, right, station management will be able to target individuals directly. We can customize certain, obviously, maybe newsletters or messages or, whatever it is, WhatsApp messages, we can customize in so many different ways, DMs that come directly to our accounts, whatever it may be, right? Um, to customize that kind of like acknowledgement to that individual directly and also customize content that we want to share. For example, if we can look at what they do like, we can also like recommend what they might like so they can, go and look at other aspects of what we can offer them as well. So they'll also be able to substitute music for more preferred customized playlists and be better able to understand their target markets through their other web-based activity and use of social media and e-commerce. So this is the station obviously that we're referring to. And I think that makes plain and simple sense. If we look at like the differences and the similarities between the BRC and PPM methods. Okay. So again, here in South Africa, very simple. Overseas, we have a much more complicated, a much more advanced level of PPM, right? Okay. BRC, PPM, quarterly results, immediate results, paper and digital, right? And digital, right? Paper, a page-like device that quantifies it electrically, right? Okay, you write down 7 days listening and we monitor for a year. Okay, depending on what you remember and write down, and this is a bit more precise on the basic data that it does actually reciprocate from our participant, right? What are the similarities? Data picked is collated and weighed up and down to represent a group of people. Makes sense, right? Okay, so that's a good similarity there. But knowing the difference is very important. Okay. So here's the homework. I'm not going to end the lesson there. It's far too short. And I did promise you a little bit of a squiz at the um the Rams, so you can get a little bit more excited, interested, and see what this is all about. But your homework, page 427, complete the activity 11B, question 1 and 2. I'm going to close this here, and I'm just going to share the pure. So this is a long presentation, right? What I'm going to do is close that up there, as I'm going to show you aspects of this particular presentation. So remember, we did speak about obviously like your P7D is 7D, so your past 7 days, Monday to Sunday, right? A weekday, and then weekend. Okay, so we look at there's like the BRC. I mean, goes highly up here in terms of the statistics and how obviously we break it down in terms of the weighted process, etc., 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 etc. Right? Okay, like Caddy. There we go. As I said, approaches based on digital dialing, as I mentioned before, is implemented there. Okay, but let's just quickly go back to here. Explain. So, right. So these are in totality, like, okay, so let's say weekly, 82% weekly listeners reach 34.9 million listeners listening in the past 7 days, 22.4 million listeners on an average day, Monday to Sunday, hey? Monday to Friday, 22.9 million listeners on a average weekday. Okay, here it breaks it up. And again, this is, please, this is an old I think it's 2 years old, but you'll get the gist of what's going on here, right? So we look at, let's say, the reach by province. It makes sense that yes, Gauteng would probably be the highest, right? Is the highest because we have a large metropolitan area, metropolitan areas here, with a high density of people that come here because obviously work attracts them, opportunities to attract them, whatever it may be, right? In comparison to a lot of our other provinces that are that's it's quite say barren. Understand that there's a lot of land that's farming land or it's rural land, etc. Look at KZN, 6.5 million over there. In the Northwest, 2.5, in the Western Cape, 4.3, and so on. Okay. All right. So here, as I said to you, I mentioned previous, in a previous, I think it was previous lesson, right? There were averages according to ethnicity. So Indian, white, colored, black, that on average listen per day. That's crazy, eh? I said 504. I said 518. I thought it was 518, but when you look up here, 544, 525, 516, 512. So Xhosa, Tonga, Setswana, Siswati, English, Sotho, and Tshivenda, right? Venda. Okay. Uh, this is great. I mean, it always excites me to actually know that people are listening for really large amounts of time throughout the day, right? So at any one given time, sure, you might listen for half an hour, maybe an hour later, an hour there, 2 hours maybe in traffic, who knows, right? But they are choosing the medium, definitely here. And we can see a slight variance from metro to rural. Makes more sense that rural communities would engage a little bit more in listening to the radio, right? Okay, then in metropolitan areas, right? KwaZulu-Natal having the highest, okay, 5 hours, 21 minutes per day. Okay, if we looked at the SEMs back then, okay, SEM, so please not in coordination. These are two different things, right? So what are we looking at percentage wise? Okay, we got the variance of listening to one station only. So they are P1 listener. P1 listener listens to only one station. So looking first at like the highest, look there, the lowest. I'm saying the lowest earning or lowest spending or lowest owning, whatever it may be. Remember, SEM is about what you own and what you can spend on what you have in your house and your lifestyle, right? 48%. That's crazy, right? If you look at, let's say, here in the Northern Cape, 53%. That's interesting, huh? Um, look at Gauteng, very low, right? Many choices. I say not that we have many choices across all the provinces, right? But P1 listeners, one station, right? But finicky and fickle here in Gauteng. And it gets lower. The more that we see that someone's SEM is higher, much lower dedication to one particular station as opposed to maybe two or three. Most of us have one station that we do like to listen to, like maybe a second commercial choice, 10 to 1 a PBS station, right? Is a second choice, and third, 10 to 1 a community station that we go and we toggle between, right? Um, Very nice that we are still sticking to the actual radio and where we consume radio. And it will say there in terms of like where exactly you're, consuming it through smart speakers, etc. All right. Okay. Terrestrial and digital. Look at terrestrial only 92%. I said to that figure, 90%. And I don't know what lesson I said that, but anyway, yeah. Uh, let's go to some representation of. So I want to see. So this is very cool, very interesting. Again, what do people listen to the radio mostly for? Music. 86% of people listen to radio for the music. Local news. 85%. The weather. Hey, 79%. Something you can get on your phone and it can be updated on the go. We listen to the weather. We trust the radio station. We trust that they'll pick the right information, the right alerts, whatever it is, advice, religious reasons, traffic, current affairs, international news, sports competitions, financial marketing, soapies, phone ins, money, eh? Celebrity news. There. That's really important to realize. I think a lot of students always think that, oops, here we go, that celebrity news is super important. It really isn't, right? I want to be able to look at what matters to every day. Celebrities don't really matter to us. I'm saying to the construct of our days, right? We do like celebrity news. We consume it quite heavily, but it really isn't that important to our everyday, I suppose, the workings of our everyday patterns or whatever, right? Okay. So that's okay. I don't want to, because I'm going to carry on far too long, right? Okay. Uh, I want to get to the stations. So I'm going to go to the stations. So over here, it's obviously just broken down CMs. Okay. Okay. So now we start here with the station starting here. So let's look at like 702. It's obviously done in numerical order, like alphanumeric, right? Okay, 702, 5, 7, 5, 6, 7, 9, 4, 7, right? But we look at, and that makes sense. Like that does actually make sense. The SEMs are quite high. SEM 10, and that's crazy. Right, being the highest. Definitely for 702, definitely for Cape Talk, definitely makes sense, definitely for 947. Look here, a lower SEM, definitely there on SEM 5, SEM 8, larger numbers that dominate here. Okay, Radio Pulpit does very well, as we saw uh, in the Rams report that we showed in the previous lesson. We'll look at different ones here to show you in terms of class. Just go here. So when you look at, for example, like here, Ikwezi, we see that the lower SEMs, so people earning and spending and living a lower, uh, uh, say, revenue life. That's the best way of saying it. 16, 15, 14, 14 from 3 to 6, and that makes sense. Guys, the FM, same thing, also makes sense. Good Hope, yeah, Good Hope is commercial. I mean, commercial, predominantly um, white and colored people listening to Good Hope and Heart, definitely as well. Uh, that's very interesting, right in the middle as well, but definitely a higher SEM for Heart in comparison to Good Hope, which are kind of direct competitors. This makes perfect sense. I said to you, Jack Rand, the East Coast, really high SEMs there. And it's more interesting diversity or diversions here. And just quickly, um, I'm going to go here. Yeah, pricing location. Uh, really good insights. Good insights. Not what I want to focus on. Just want to break it down. So it's going to be quite far down. You'll see. Second. Uh, uh, it's shouldn't. There's a part that I'm going to go to that's going to actually give reasons as to why people are tuning out of stations, right? Uh, yeah, okay, this is very important. This is cool. To have a look at, let's say, uh, the the week. See, so Monday to Friday, Saturday, Sunday. For stations in the Eastern Cape, having a look at that. There will also be breakdowns for per station that will show where their fluctuation will happen. They can see where they have the lowest amount of listeners. It also breaks it down again, time spent listening, Monday to Sunday, weekday, weekends, and the yesterday average daily, right? Okay, so the the Y day, right, that we saw before. Okay, just really nice to obviously have a look at. I'm getting excited for small things, but I'm going to show you. So after we go here, should show the stations. It went into key station measures. Okay, here we go. So those are the numbers, time spent listening. That's also that's very good to have there. I think it should be a might be a graph, not. So this is interesting, right? Stopped listening to 78% no, 22% said yes. We stopped listening to the radio stations. Then it actually shares the information. 11% stopped listening to Metro FM, Khosi Lesedi, Radio 2005, Gagasi, etc., etc. Reasons for stopping listening to the station. They prefer another station. The reception was bad. The routine changed. They disliked the content. They no longer liked the station, disliked the programming, disliked the music. They moved, and it wasn't local enough content. Right. Very interesting. We can make honestly decisions, business decisions based on this, right? Okay. Having the reasons for each station. So looking at, and this is what I wanted to get to, right? So Metro, um, yeah, they lost it because they preferred another radio station. That's bad news for Metro, man. So they lost it, went 10 to 1 to like one of the PBS stations, right? Routine change. Didn't have time to listen to that station. Didn't like the programming. Terrible reasons. Terrible reasons. He's too young. Prefer another station. Also, the causing. Not the content. Didn't like the programming. Man, it's gonna hurt, eh? So if we look at a couple of other ones, yeah, look like let's say 22%. It's crazy. No, they have to reshuffle and readdress their playlisting because it's not great. A routine change, didn't like the programming either. These are not good reasons. Right. Big red alarms. I think it says some point as well which station they switched to. Yeah, I think here it is. Yeah. Um, switched to another radio station, did something else, top activities per station, post switch. Let's see where they went to. That information down. There we go. There we go. Right. So, for example, for Metro, they switched to Ukwazi, Radio 2000, Mklobo Wenene, uh, for Ukwazi, Mklobo Wenene, Isedi, Kakasi, Metro. Very cool, very interesting, and I hope you find that interesting too. Okay, we'll close it off there, and I'm going to end that lecture, and I'll see you in class next week. Have a great